A young Viking lives on Berg Island, but unlike his tribe, he's unable to hunt dragons, resulting in him being looked down upon. However, his life takes a turn when he encounters the mighty Night Fury. Today, we'll recap the beloved story of the 2010 movie, How to Train Your Dragon. In the village of Berg, the residents are facing a serious problem, huge pests that are attacking them. While other places have to deal with rats and mosquitoes, Berg is plagued by dragons. During these attacks, Hiccup, the son of Stoic, the leader of the Viking tribe, goes to Gobber's workshop in search of a tool to fight the monsters. However, his friends, including his love interest Astrid, take care of this task. Despite wanting to become a warrior, Hiccup lacks combat skills and struggles to even lift an axe. As the whole village gathers to fight the dragons, they are surprised by the arrival of a Night Fury, an extremely powerful dragon whose identity remains unknown, as it never reveals itself. No Viking has ever been able to defeat a Night Fury, but Hiccup decides to be the first. He believes that this is the only way to earn his father's respect. Hiccup takes the weapon he designed himself to the top of the mountain and manages to capture the dragon during an attack. However, before he can pursue his prey, a monstrous nightmare appears and starts chasing him with flames. Just as Hiccup is about to be devoured, his father appears and lands a few blows on the dragon's head, causing it to retreat. The dragons steal the village's herd and depart. Stoic orders Hiccup not to get involved in the battles against the dragons, as his actions have caused disruption in the village. Later, the village chief meets with other Vikings to devise a plan to invade the dragon's nest. Hiccup ventures into the forest to track down the Night Fury he had captured earlier. After a long search, he discovers the dragon's trail and eventually finds it unconscious. Hiccup approaches the creature with a dagger, but the dragon wakes up and looks at him. Though he wants to impress his father by defeating the dragon, Hiccup decides to free it instead. As the dragon lunges for him, Hiccup is spared and the Night Fury leaves. When Hiccup returns to his village, he tells his father that he no longer wishes to fight dragons. His father disagrees and gives him an axe, informing him that his dragon training starts the next day. During the first class, the group is attacked by a grunkle, and Hiccup and Astrid are the only ones left standing after the others are defeated. However, in a moment of distraction, Hiccup is cornered and about to be set on fire, but Gobber captures the monster and sends it back to its cage. After training, Hiccup returns to the spot where he freed the Night Fury and finds that it's still there, unable to fly due to a damaged tail. The dragon notices Hiccup, but he decides to leave. On a stormy night, the boy studies the Book of Dragons, which contains all known information about every dragon ever seen. However, upon finding the page about the Night Fury, he realizes it's blank as no dragon of this class has been catalogued across the ocean. Meanwhile, Stoic and his men approach the dragon's nest with a plan to attack the place and threaten the animals to leave for another location. The next morning, during training, Hiccup and his colleagues must strive the attack of a deadly natter, who is chasing them. Fishlegs tries to use his extensive knowledge of dragons to defeat the beast, but Roughneck and Toughneck are too busy fighting each other to survive the monster's attacks. Snotlout attempts to impress Astrid with his combat skills, but ends up putting both of them in danger. As they try to escape, Astrid falls on top of Hiccup, and the dragon prepares to make the final attack. However, Astrid manages to grab an axe in time to defend herself, landing a blow on the creature and pushing it away. After finishing his training, Hiccup returns to the spot where the Night Fury is located. This time, he brings along a meal for the hungry dragon. As the dry dragon approaches to eat, Hiccup notices that the animal is toothless, yet surprised to see its teeth being exposed to devour the food. After feeding the dragon, the creature comes closer and shares half of the fish with Hiccup as a friendly gesture. Despite struggling to swallow a piece of the fish, Hiccup tries to get closer to the animal, but the dragon is scared and runs away. However, Hiccup doesn't give up and approaches the beast, noticing its badly bruised tail. Hours later, Hiccup is still there, drawing on the ground with a stick when the Night Fury approaches him with a tree trunk, mimicking his drawing. Hiccup walks under the drawing and manages to approach the dragon for a few seconds before it runs away. That night, Hiccup gathers with Gobber and his colleagues around a campfire, listening thoughtfully to his tutor, telling him about the dragons he has faced. According to him, all dragons are merciless beasts that need to be slaughtered, but Hiccup disagrees. At a certain moment, the boy decides to leave the place and heads to the workshop where he begins working on a prosthesis for his new friend. He spends the entire night crafting what would be the missing other half of the dragon's tail. When he returns in the early morning to feed the dragon, he takes the opportunity to install the prosthesis while the animal is eating. At that moment, the Night Fury attempts to take flight, but the boy is still clinging to its tail. He holds the equipment so that it stays open, allowing the dragon to fly perfectly. Seeing that it could fly away, the animal decides to get rid of the human by throwing him into the river. As a result, the equipment closes and the Night Fury is no longer able to fly. Back in the village, Hiccup and his partners advance their training and face off against the Barf and Belch, a dragon with two heads, one of which releases gas and the other ignites a spark that creates flames. To stop the attack, Hiccup needs to wet the head that ignites the spark so the animal won't be able to set him on fire. However, as he is very short, he misses the target. Just as he is about to be attacked, he decides to use his last resort and tries to tame the dragon alone and unarmed. He manages to get the animal back into its cage, causing Gober and his companions to shiver. After that, he goes back to the workshop and works on a way to improve the prosthesis he designed. After testing it on the Night Fury, he realizes that the prototype isn't perfect yet, so he continues working on it. The duo makes another attempt, but ends up falling on a lawn where Hiccup discovers dragonweed. He uses that plant to calm the animals during training, and little by little, he manages to tame them every time he meets Toothless. The boy is gaining more knowledge about dragons, and his discoveries have piqued the curiosity of the warriors in his village. Except for Astrid, who believes that using brute force is the best way to deal with animals and fails to recognize the boy's talents. One day, while they're training in the forest, Hiccup spots Astrid following him but manages to lose her. The boy realizes that the prosthesis he has made is almost ready with just a few adjustments needed. After days of travel, Stoic and his men return to Berg only to learn that their mission has failed. Meanwhile, Gober informs the tribal chief that Hiccup has become a celebrity in the village. Hiccup's father cannot believe this news. At that moment, the boy is with Toothless, training to fly with the updated version of the prosthesis he developed. However, during their flight, the boy accidentally lets go off Toothless's back and they both fall. Toothless is unable to adjust the equipment himself, but Hiccup manages to get back onto his back and they recover. Their mutual trust allows them to traverse a labyrinth of rocks, and to celebrate, Toothless unleashes one of his energy blasts. When they stop to rest, many dragons appear to eat, but Toothless is unwilling to share his fish with him. However, Hiccup decides to feed one of the dragons and ends up befriending it. This moment makes him realize that everything the Vikings know about dragon behavior was wrong. That night, Stoic surprised Hiccup by coming to talk to him. He congratulated his son on his impressive performance with the dragons and predicted that he would become an excellent hunter. As a gift, Stoic gives Hiccup a Viking hat and requested that he wears it during his arena battles, at his father's behest. During the battle against a fierce Grunkle, Astrid demanded that Hiccup step aside so that she could win the competition. However, when she prepares to attack the animal, Hiccup has already managed to knock him down, and he earns the title of the winner of that duel. This was a significant step towards becoming a true Viking, but Hiccup still had one more challenge to overcome: to eliminate a dragon. Feeling unhappy about living among people whose values were completely opposite to his own, Hiccup packed his bags and set out to find Toothless. However, Astrid showed up and tried to stop him. She demanded that he reveals his secret of how he became so skilled at dealing with dragons. Furious about losing the duel, Astrid attacked Hiccup, but Toothless came to his aid. When Astrid tried to eliminate Toothless, Hiccup managed to calm his friend down. The two then chased after Astrid, and Toothless left her hanging from a tree branch. Hiccup asked for a chance to explain himself, and he took Astrid for a ride on Toothless. They soared to great heights and even touched the clouds. Astrid is amazed by the breathtaking scenery when suddenly, several dragons appear besides them. Toothless leads the way as they fly for several minutes before entering a cave. They observe the animals dropping their prey into a large chasm, but a Gronko who eats his offering only throws a small piece into the hole. At that moment, a monstrous and gigantic dragon emerges from the bottom of the cave and devours the Gronko. The monster then tries to attack Toothless and the other dragons in the cave, causing them to flee in despair. When they return to the island, Astrid plans to tell Stoic about the dragon's food-stealing habit. She explains that the dragons are focused to feed the queen or they will be devoured. However, Hiccup tries to stop her, as he fears that Toothless's safety will be at risk if they reveal too much. He asks for some time to think about what to do, and Astrid says her goodbyes before returning to the village. The following day, Hiccup is set to take the final test that would make him a Viking. In this test, he must defeat a monstrous nightmare dragon. As soon as he enters the arena, he readies himself with his shield and dagger, and the monstrous nightmare, a dragon that covers itself with fire, approaches to attack. Hiccup uses all his weapons to fight, but in a moment of compassion, he tries to calm the dragon and befriend it. Unfortunately, Stoic, Hiccup's father, starts yelling at him, causing the monstrous nightmare to become scared and start chasing him. Toothless, Hiccup's dragon friend, hears his screams and comes to his aid, attacking the monstrous nightmare. Meanwhile, Astrid, another Viking, enters the arena to help Hiccup. Stoic opens the gate to let them escape, but the monstrous nightmare corners Hiccup. Thankfully, Toothless appears and destroys the bars entering the ring to protect Hiccup. The monstrous nightmare returns to its cage, but the Vikings try to capture Toothless. Hiccup tries to stop them, but Stoic ignores him and captures Toothless. Stoic talks to Hiccup and expresses feeling betrayed, as dragons have already killed many Vikings. Hiccup reminds his father that the Vikings have also killed thousands of dragons and that the dragons only attack to defend themselves. He also explains that dragons steal food because they're forced to bring a lot of it to their queen, or else they will be eaten themselves. After discovering that Toothless has been taken to the dragon's nest, Stoic decides to use him as a compass to find and invade the place. Hiccup tries to stop him, but his father ignores him completely. On the same day, a fleet of ships leaves the island with Toothless as their unwilling guide. While talking to Astrid, Hiccup comes up with a plan to rescue his dragon friend. He heads to the dragon cages with the intention of riding one of them to reach the ships. His colleagues join him soon, too, and they tame the monstrous nightmare, who sympathizes with Snotlout. The other dragons also appear and are ready to help. Meanwhile, the Vikings are approaching the nest and find wrecked vessels on all sides. They land on the island and dig a hole to break into the cave, which is filled with dragons who flee in despair as soon as the invasion begins. Gab announces victory, but Stoic realizes that Toothless is terrified and understands that the battle has just begun. Suddenly, they hear a loud roar from the back of the cave and the queen appears. The catapults are ineffective against her and the Vikings have to flee to the ships. However, the dragon is determined to eliminate them and sets fire to the ships to prevent their escape. While Stoic and his men try to survive the attack, Toothless attempts to flee the burning ship but struggles to move. To increase the remaining warriors' chances of survival, Gober and the tribe's chief team up to get the monster's attention, while the rest try to escape. When the fight was almost lost, Hiccup and his friends appear mounted on their dragons. Hiccup devises a plan to distract the creature while he and Astrid go after Toothless. When Hiccup finally finds his friend, he asks Astrid to go help the others while he tries to figure out how to save Toothless. However, things take an unexpected turn when the queen shows up and in trying to get rid of some pesky youngsters, accidentally destroys the vessel, causing Toothless and Hiccup to fall into the water. Toothless is still trapped and begins to sink, so Hiccup immediately jumps in after him. Despite his best efforts to rip off Toothless's chains, Hiccup loses his breath and almost passes out. Luckily, Hiccup's father appears and pulls him out of the water, and then Stoic jumps back in and frees Toothless. The dragon pulls Stoic out of the water, but before they can take flight, Stoic approaches his son and asks for forgiveness for not trusting him from the beginning. Meanwhile, Astrid and her dragon are about to be swallowed, but Toothless manages to save them by launching a powerful bolt into the creature's mouth. The impact causes Astrid to fall, but she is saved by Toothless. Now, the duo must find a way to defeat the monster. They blast down the creature, which shortly after spreads its wings and flies after them. Toothless lures them away, and Hiccup guides his friend up above the clouds and Toothless launches its most powerful attacks against the enormous dragon. But the queen sets fire to everything around her, and Toothless's prosthesis starts taking fire. The duo knew that their time was running out and they needed to make one final attack before they lost the ability to fly. As they descended in altitude, they waited for the monster to give chase. When the creature released a combustible gas towards them, Hiccup asked Toothless to aim his bolt at the monster's mouth, causing its body to burst into flames. The queen was gravely injured and unable to fly, crashing into the island and causing a massive explosion. While trying to escape the chaos, Toothless loses his prosthesis and crashes into the queen's tail, and Hiccup gets separated from him. Toothless bravely dived into the flames to rescue his friend. Stoic frantically searches for his son and Toothless in the aftermath, but he only found Toothless, leading him to believe that his son had perished. In a moment of regret, Stoic asked Toothless for forgiveness, However, to his surprise, Toothless lifted one of his wings, revealing that he had managed to save Hiccup and that the boy was still alive. After several days, Hiccup wakes up to find Toothless by his side in his own house. He can't believe Toothless is there and worries about his father finding out. Hiccup gets up and realizes with sadness that he lost part of his left leg during the fall. Toothless helps him to walk to the door, and when they open it, they are faced with the monstrous nightmare. Hiccup is scared and asks Toothless to hide, but upon opening the door again, he can hardly believe his eyes. Vikings and dragons are living together as a family. For a few seconds, he believes he's dead, but his father soon appears by his side, and Hiccup realizes that he managed to end a rivalry that had lasted for thousands of years. Seeing Hiccup awake, the whole village rejoices, and Gobber talks about the prosthesis he made for him. Now, Hiccup looks like a real Viking, battle-scarred. Astrid appears, while Gobber hands him the new prosthesis he made for the Toothless. The two friends prepare to fly together again, but they are now not alone. This is just the beginning of a long friendship between beasts and humans. Elsewhere, Vikings have birds and ponies as pets, but on Berg, warriors have dragons. And that concludes our recap of the beloved animated classic, How to Train Your Dragon. From the heartwarming bond between Hiccup and Toothless to the thrilling dragon fight sequences, this movie truly has something for everyone. But now, let's buzz on over to another animated movie, the B-movie. That's right, we're switching gears from dragons to bees. And trust us, you won't want to miss it. So sit back, relax, and get ready to enter the wacky and hilarious world of Barry and his befriends. So click this video and I'll see you there.